There's not many building strategy games on the consoles, sadly. Whether that's because they don't sell well or devs find it hard to get these types of games working well on a controller, it's a shame really, because Prison Architect proves it can work, and work bloody well as well. So what do? Well, you build and manage a prison, clues in the title really, and if you thought managing a prison was basically lock the scumbags up, feed them occasionally, then shower them if you're feeling generous like me, then you are very wrong. You can either run the prison like a North Korean work camp, running it with an iron fist, or build a nice happy rehabilitation prison where you try to meet all of your prisoners' needs. But I thought, fuck that, these scumbags should have thought of that before stealing those chocolate fingers from Sanjeev's news. Even managing the most basic of prisons takes some serious diligence. You have to make sure your guards are patrolling the right sectors, make sure the place is clean, manage a riot if one breaks out, put up some security cameras, assign prisoners to do work routines. Oh, but you better make sure they are qualified beforehand, so you better run some programs. I could be here all day with what management entails. There's loads to get into. So is there something to teach you all of these complex parts? Yep, there's a story campaign which does a decent job of teaching you the game. It takes a while to do, but it needs to be long to cover everything. There's even an okay story underneath it all, so don't worry. It does take time to learn, but it's not like the game doesn't give you the opportunity to do so. Prison Architect is one of them rare games that has complexity and actually bothers to explain most of it. You might have to go on a wiki at some point for the more obtuse stuff, but the real meat of the game is explained well. There's two modes, the story campaign as I mentioned, and then sandbox mode, which is clearly where the focus of the game is. You start with a blank field, some workers, and go from there. It can seem intimidating, but the game does throw some guidance your way in the form of grants, which give you money up front, then give you a list of objectives to complete, such as build a cell block. Then once you've done that, you get another payment. These really give you some structure to your approach. When you get going, there's so much to think about at one time that you'll look at the clock and realise 3 days have gone by and bang, you have a fully functioning scumbag lockup. It can be a bit overwhelming, it was for me at points, but I think the best way to approach this is just take baby steps. Start off small and expand as you feel more confident. It's good the game doesn't pressure you into it, you can take it at your own pace. You can just turn off funds altogether and not have to worry about all this stuff, but that takes away a lot of the urgency and pretty funny chaos that can result from money limitations. Even if you don't want to build your prison, you can play on some pre-made ones or download other players' prisons from the world of Wardens and just mess around in them, which is another good way to learn. You do have to sign up for a double ID though. When you get up and running, it's so satisfying when you see all these tiny moving parts operating without your interference and see the prison running itself efficiently, which brings me on to the AI. For the most part they are fine, they get on with what they are supposed to be doing. Guards patrol where you told them to, cleaners start mopping cells when prisoners are working, but I did have problems with the workmen just not listening to me. It was mega frustrating when I needed to build an important building which could have been the difference between a full-blown riot or not, and they just gormlessly stand there. This did only happen a few times, and one of those times was because I didn't build a door for them to get through, so maybe a couple were down to personal retardation. It works fine on a controller. Obviously things would be a little speedier on a mouse and keyboard, but there's just a lot of little convenient touches. For example, if you highlight a cell and go to your objects tab, it will only show you objects that go in a cell, so no tedious scrolling through looking for what you need. Building stuff is simple click and drag, and navigating through all the menus using controller shortcuts is a breeze. Also, the art style is quite nice. It looks all cutesy and colourful, but there's some pretty grim stuff that goes on. Drug smuggling, death by fire, workshop accidents. The art style weirdly portrays it quite well. The sound design is pretty minimal and works fine apart from the fire sound effect, which sounds horrible and is a lot louder than the other sound effects in the game. Overall then, smashing game, and for 20 quid it's well worth it. I suppose how much you get out of this is based on your own personal enjoyment. Some people might build one prison then trade the game in, but the sheer variety of prisons you can make and the depth you can go into really make it a standout in its genre.